to a demonic horde, and so it's not like really literal locusts. I think that's just a figurative. I'm not sure what they're going to do when they get here, but I'm pretty sure that they're not locusts like we're thinking of. They're not literal locusts. It's just the Bible being colorful, which usually it is colorful at the end.
Absolutely. And how about the whole Matrix analogy then? This three-part series. The first one, obviously, one of the mind openers in terms of that particular theory of how we're, slaves in one way. In this case as well, in the age of technology, we're being used by robotic entities that are using our energy. But it can also be interpreted on a more spiritual level than that we're actually under the control of spiritual entities and demons. But in terms of the Matrix series, what's your take on this, and how do you analyze this in terms of your work and research, Michael?
Well, one of my first videos was Fallen Angels, where I went over the fact that Matrix was definitely, the Wachowski brothers are definitely insiders. They're fully aware of what's going on. And so they wrote, the whole Matrix thing sounded true. I mean, had this element to it where not only did you talk about gates, and I mean, it's not gates, but you had this body that, if either body dies, you're screwed. And that came straight out of the Necronomicon, or at least appears so. And at the same time, you have the Necronomicon mentioning things like, that they need us for food, and that we're just a harvest to them. So that's when I drew that, because there's so much, who would have thought, who could make something like that up? That if your astral body gets hurt, that your physical body gets hurt. Yes, it does actually say that. So,
but that also implies then that you're going on on a kind of trip, if you will, with your soul, which connects with the basically what's it called, an astral projection. You're actually removing yourself from your body. You're literally going into another dimension, but you leave your body behind, right?
Yeah, and you have to be unplugged from the Matrix in order to do that kind of work, where you can just get plugged back in and have all these abilities. And even that element has so much truth to it. I don't know if we have enough time to go over it, but it is very important. They do have a ritual that unplugs you, essentially, and allows your astral body to completely separate from your real body, where you have to, and it's not reversible, similar to the Matrix. So that's where I decided to use the Matrix kind of like a foundation, because the Necronomicon just kept going with a Matrixy kind of world.
That's very interesting. And do you think this could connect with the fact that some people are looking into transferring their soul into a computer? In some cases, you might even, from a more occult point of view, you might talking about a situation where you transfer the soul from one body into another, because this is another theme by the people behind the scenes, so to speak, and an idea that exists that in order for an agenda to progress for over thousands of years, you might looking at same individuals, but they simply get a new body when the old one is beginning to go, when it's starting to die, so to speak, and you take your soul from one body and places it into another. Have you heard about that?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that was one of the things I really did want to discuss, because these people, like for instance, Michael Tazarian has talked about the Jedi, and that's exactly who they are people who have unplugged, and so they now have these incredible abilities, and yes, they can preserve their essence even after death. So definitely,
that would kind of explain some things, at least on the surface level, then, in terms of how an agenda can progress. Because one of the question marks is why does one person dedicate their lives to the initial steps, let's say, of this agenda, maybe thousands of years ago even, but they knew that they're never going to see the full outcome of that. Right. So it becomes like a question mark, and that's a disconnection for people who are looking at this for the first time from the outside as well. They don't understand why would anybody want to do that stuff when they're never going to see the full outcome or reap the benefits, so to speak, of the agenda that they're trying to propel. So do you think, Michael, that could be an answer for that? That could be a plausible theory that they actually are moving their soul from one body into another one, into another one, into another one, and hence they actually get to see the whole agenda unfolding.
Absolutely. In fact, it's a body transformation, and they're not entirely moving their spirit from somewhere to somewhere else. They're gaining a new element into their body, a new kind of fire. Like I said, Michael Tazarian referred to them as the Jedi, and the Jedi were Egyptian priests back in the days of Egypt, where they would be led with a blindfold into the center of the Giza pyramid, and from there they would be laid into a coffin. Certain incantations would be said over the coffin, and then 3 days later they would be resurrected as Jedis. And this transformation, we've heard of that before. We've seen the Masons do it. We've seen them at Skull and Bones saying you got to be reborn as a Bones member.
Yeah.
The Freemasons have often led people, with blindfolds and say you will not tell anybody or we'll cut your tongue out. Even in there's a card game out there called the Illuminati Game of Conspiracy, and one of the cards has a man with a face that's becoming that's made out of light, but there's a mask blocking it, but you can see light beams coming out. And at the bottom of the card it says one of our cabal's deepest secrets, so that even people of the 12th circle don't know about it, and something like that. And what they're talking about is the Jedi transformation getting this new body. That card is not joking. And the card game itself, the card game is so full of Illuminati symbolism. Every single card has all-seeing eyes, pyramids. I mean, the card game really lets it all hang out. Steve Jackson's card game is just loaded with Illuminati symbolism, and you have this one card that's so vague, and yet it claims to be one of the deepest secrets. What the deepest secret is body transformation.
Well, that's interesting.
It's
because
through ritual, and it's not reversible.
And let's see, was this the same one where the Illuminati card game, was this the same one where they had the 9/11 towers pretty much blowing up, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's one. Yes, obviously you know about it. There's the whole card deck is just loaded with the obvious, and then you have this one card that's all cryptic and hidden, and it claims to be one of their deepest secrets, and they're not lying. It's so secret that even in the card game, the Illuminati card game, he still had to be vague and quiet about it, because what he's talking about are this body transformation that's going on. And where Michael Tazarian got his information regarding the Jedi was a book called The Return of the Serpents of Wisdom. And if you look on the book, it kind of lets it all out. All-seeing eye pumping fire into the body. This whole body's made out of fire. You got another all-seeing eye that's pumping. You've got two all-seeing eyes pumping fire into the body. And the whole book is about body transformation. The whole thing is about body transformation and how the serpents have always been connected to the gods and godly powers throughout the ages. And on the cover, serpents. So
that's right. I think that's by Alex Gray, one of the a very talented artist. Obviously has some interesting knowledge in terms of some of the images that he draws. But that's right. The Return of the Serpent's Wisdom has that image on it. What if we talk just briefly about Skull and Bones, ritual, Masonic initiation as well, then those kinds of things that goes on today? Do you think that simply is a retelling of the story, or do they actually perform the full ritual? Do they actually transform in some way? I wouldn't imagine that John Kerry or George Bush did that. Their body seems to be, getting old and so forth as the rest of us. What's your take on that? Do you think that that's just a retelling of the story? They don't really kind of know what to do, how to do it, or do the proper one, or what's your take on that, Michael?
No, they definitely know, and you won't see any visible signs. As you said, you'd be able to move your spirit from one place to the other. So I wouldn't say that their body would stop aging after this. So it could still be, and yeah, it seems that a lot of their Masonic and Skull and Bones rituals, it seems to be like a reenactment of this very real ritual. And this ritual usually takes place inside of a pyramid. Whether you're talking about the Aztecs or whether you're talking about the Sumerians, no matter where you're talking about, this ritual of body transformation happens inside of a pyramid or a large structure.
So that is one of the secrets, I guess, then as well, of the secret teachings of the Illuminati, right?
Yeah, it's got a million names.